Today we're talking to Hallidonto. He's a futurist visual artist and poet whose work explores the relationship between technology, humanity, consciousness, philosophy, cyborgism, and a lot of stuff. And I'll let him get into that.
Hi, Ryan. Thanks for first of all, thank you for inviting me to speak on the platform. It's privileged to do so. Just a little bit about me. So I'm Hallidonto, I'm a Scottish artist who's based in London, UK. I've been researching around the topic of cyborgs, post-humanism and transhumanism for over 14 years. My practice is multifaceted, it's multi-disciplinary, it ranges from painting to drawing, to virtual reality, to poetry, and I'm also at the moment teaching myself Blender 3D, because I've now kind of taken my practice in different directions with 3D art, but also I've been creating an immersive opera, which is called Sanctum Cyborgia, which is looking at the future of work, but also exploring the idea of disability, coming from my own empirical experience of disability. I've lost my hearing, but I had a severe brain injury, got ADHD and OCD and other things as well. So this is kind of taking these ideas and these superpowers, as some people like to call them, that come with ADHD and do within the transhumanist, the post-humanist scope. Do I want to alter these realities, or am I happy to stay as I am, and explore my experience of being human within the idea of this discourse and technology, and implementing this into an immersive experience about what does it mean to be human. So this is a brief overview of what I do as an artist. Now with the advent of digital technologies and all the interconnectedness from the internet and all the information that we're sharing, and what is it to be human? What does it mean to be human? We kind of seem to be dogmatic about these constructs about if it's gender. I don't have I'm not. I think this is a very post-human society that we're coming into now.
Yeah.
Where people are kind of because a lot of the society we've been brought up in, especially in the West, has been permeated by religion. That's a lot of where the ethics and ethos comes from, and how people relate themselves to the world, and a lot of people reject that notion. In especially in Western society, I think that's the case for this anti-humanism. That they want to reject these old orders, because to me they're not applicable. They were applicable for maybe a time that we were in, but the human, as you said, and as I feel, is always an ongoing question. We're ever evolving, and the technologies that we build start to change and alter who we are as the human race. We're not a fixed idea, and I always get terrified. Very confusion, just like you're seeing it now. Like the 20th century, the 20th century mindset is eroding and it's dying, but a lot of people are trying to hold on to it because they think this is how society should be, and it's not. It's like it's changing all the time. So I think that after a while, what's the distinction of a cyborg going to be in it? Will there be such a thing? A spear. As soon as we made that to hunt, as soon as we augmented these materials, that separated us. That made us cyborgs.
Right.
This is rudimentary technology. People forget that, because look at kids now. I grew up in the 80s where, you had an analog childhood, and then I had a digital adulthood.
Yeah.
This microgeneration habits kind of thing. Obviously, before I had the similar, but we had a childhood, this kind of coming of age, this digitality. So anyway, that's the one I've heard, the kind of microgeneration.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because it's like like tapes, cassette tapes, all these kind of analog medias, which just don't even exist anymore. I'm using things like that in the opera as well. I've got like Neo Geo and Super Nintendo cartridges inside of me.
Nice.
Do you know what I mean? Because I love old analog media, as a thing, these kind of sockets, time slipping through the substrates, memory all cache. It's the synapses all quiet and cold. Will hold me getting on your futures untold. I wonder why they haven't, and need them by credit. The warm pulsating flesh, the wires that I caress. To the end of time and memory, a wash of pathos on me and my content. Fuck me for the eyes, and cover the whole eye despise. An everlasting clench, the memory of lament. Oh, hold me, O dear one, salacious and pathetic. I've grown tired of the matrix, I fear it's not complete. Take my data, and the organic self-respect, the rate of time here for love, or regret. Greetings, high mind. I am Hallidonto, and welcome to Cyborg. That was solely, I think, as well as the landscape of the 80s is what permeates in my work, and it was so dark. It's like all the grids, but it was like you had this really shitty wallpaper, and you had all these really ropey bits of fashion in the living room. But on the TV was this futuristic world with the grid system.
Oh shit, yeah.
With all this fancy neon lights.
Yeah.
And it was like fucking hell. It was like this kind of hyper capitalism, which was kind of amazing. Like at the time, that these products were just made to be futuristic.
Yeah.
You'd have like these Adidas torsion shoes from the 80s floating about in space, and it's completely like.
Yes.
We get into this hyper reality, and this landscape, and it was so surreal, and you had like the Cold War was over, swimming. There was still a threat at the time when we were going up of actually nuclear war. People take that for granted, you know what I mean? Like
and watching Tomorrow's World, you remember Tomorrow's World?
Of course.
Like, that was like, I love that show, and it'd come on.
More grids.
Yeah, and they'd do all this technology, but then it would just never show up.
Yeah. This I don't mind Nintendo at times, because Nintendo is as corporately devilish as they can be. They don't just sacrifice things. They don't just get obsessed by graphics. You know what I mean? They're obsessed with what the main thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
What you're immersed in, and that kind of leads me to segue into what I'm doing. I'm busy writing the sample psychology of virtual reality of the video game section. So this is the opera is a physical opera in a metaverse-based VR video game. So at the moment I'm writing the video game, and it's based about for disabled players as well. It's the main focus about disability players.
Awesome.
Not just abled players.
Yeah.
So, I'm busy now about 32,000 words down on the script. It's a lot of work. So it's a lot of complexity. And I'm writing out scenarios, I'm writing out dialogue, I'm trying to think about innovative ways to use virtual reality controllers and stuff like that, and what you can do with this, because this is what the whole point of the opera is. It's the segue between the physical and the digital, and marrying the two. Yeah.
It's exciting.
So, and this is also about the future of work, and what I want to do is get people from socially, economically challenged backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, and disabled backgrounds onboarded into the opera as either performers, but creating jobs and creating future jobs for them, because if I can train somebody to become one of the best opera singers in the world, who knows, they can go on to do different careers.
I love that.
What I mean by that is because we're coming into the imagination economy. This is where we're coming. I was sitting watching crypto NFTs a long time before anybody was doing it, and my friend who put me into that, she was telling me about it, because I was posting stuff on Twitter, and she's like, "You need to see this." So, I was sitting there, and as it was the big height of it and that as well, I was sitting watching the markets, sitting watching the development of Web3, and this at the same time before it actually happened, and I would start writing this on.
Right.
So it's kind of, this wonderful serendipitous time, especially with COVID. I mean, COVID was horrific in some ways for me creatively. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Because I got so much done.
Yeah, I heard that a lot from creative people. It was like a blessing in disguise, because the world stopped. They had a chance to actually catch up and do the stuff that they were always thinking in their head, that I want to do this, I need to do that, and there was the world was taken away.
You had a fucking arts residency provided to you by by human fault. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Which was kind of amazing. You know, because it was weird because before like COVID happened, when I started writing the physical of the script, which began as it's a poem, it's an epic poem, the whole Sanctum Psychology. But my concept was about a virus.
Yeah.
So that was even what was weird in it, you know what I mean? That I was writing about a virus, you know, on board these kind of super intelligences. And when that happened, and when somebody went to lockdown, my mate went, "That's scary." It's so stressful. But I mean, also, recently, like over the 2 years, I was just concentrating on that. And like this year now, we're starting to get a lot of investors. I've been doing a few interviews, like Super Rare. There's the London School of Economics talking about DAOs and NFTs and how I'll be using these within the Opera structure.
Excellent.
So, I'm kind of really looking at Web3 and looking at Web3 and what the future of what Web3 will do. You know what I mean? And looking at how jobs are the future, because everybody's in a panic about what jobs there's going to be. It's like, well, because so this is kind of where I'm seeing it. I've seen it in myself. And it's like I find it fascinating. And now it's like one of the guys that we're going to be working with. It's just he's so infused by it. Because I want to build something that's a social enterprise. It's got a social purpose. It's not just about being consumers.
I love that.
It's
Yeah.
creating value and fulfillment. It's one of the exciting things that I really loved about crypto when it happened because it was punk. It's when some things went a bit. Got a bit fucking corporate, and I was like, nah, and I disappeared because I was like, I'm gonna watch. I want to see, what the core of the thing was about the communities, and that's what I really liked about the communities, and that's kind of what I took from it from myself to adapt into my own project.
Yeah.
Which will be rolling out when it's up and running, but about community and looking after each other, adding to the creative economy and helping people out and artists, because we need to start normalising art as a job.
Yeah.
I'm getting a bit tired now of this because everybody's consuming it, and that's why when people have this opinion, I don't really like that. It's like when you're on Instagram with people, liking images, you're consuming images all the time. You're liking them all the time. It's impossible for humans not to be in art or any form. Any form of this thing.
It's part of what we do. It's like humans do art. It's art in order to. You made a comment. You said the imagination economy, and that I like that term because I feel like a lot of people don't have the imagination to see that there are more possibilities happening than are being closed down. If something's being washed away, then maybe it was just a bad idea, or maybe there'll be better ideas coming forward. Also, I feel like I like the fact that you're out there in the culture making things happen because there's this, we could sit back and criticize and just say it's corporate or it's just a bunch of robots or whatever, but it's really tools, right? And we're at a point where we can take part in the conversation and we can define the culture by doing stuff together and just doing stuff,
I agree, and I think as well on that note, it's like when people go about corporate this, like to me I kind of find it as a bourgeoisie statement. It's like they're able to say, well, if I jump into the market and losing my soul as an artist, that's the kind of bullshit statement. Because the majority of artists I've ever met, right, they come from privileged backgrounds. They can afford to be an artist.
Yeah.
So I'm not buying that bullshit. It's like the Ron Bo statement for me.
Yeah.
Ron Bo, great poet, but he was like a caricature. He would jump up, took the heroin, got him, but he was able to escape at any time he could.
Yeah.
Because he had the money.
Right. Yeah.
So it's this kind of poverty safari bullshit that I'm not buying into anymore.
Likewise, yeah, I'm with you there.
I'm selling my soul. No, it's not. Everything's a fucking market. Every human, we're always dealing in markets, whether we like it or not. But let's have the freedom to choose which market you want to play part in.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired of being told like I need to go and get this job at fucking Amazon or whatever it is. No, I'm a creative. So I'm going to make sure and fight to make sure that I will be sustainable and help sustain another economy for other artists.
Yeah, man.
This is why the opera, this is where it came about, because being a working class artist and coming from that background, I'm not buying into that bullshit. I don't buy into that.
Yeah.
So I'll create a system which hopefully which will come bigger and become even. It'll be a continuous line, So I'm going to bring stuff that's going to be of value, and in the same context with my own art. I've been talking about cyborgs for 14 years before it was. I grew up with artists who in the 80s, and I'm now the older guy. But I was talking about these things before it was even fashionable as an art.
Right.
So now it's all coming around to me now, going, oh, you were saying this years ago. I think, yeah, it's like, it's like this is all. It's meant to happen. It's meant to happen in this way.
Yeah.
I'm just not bothered about the thing about the parking thing. I don't care. It's like everybody needs to pay their rent, unfortunately, and we're all tied to these nonsense ideas of taxation, right? Well, let's not talk about that because that's dull stuff. But at the same time,
talk about anything.
Everybody's got stuff to do and stuff to sell, right?
Right.
So let's legitimize and normalize the creative economy as a thing.
Yeah.
The smoking mirrors and veneer bullshit. I'm just tired of it.
Same. I'm with you.
You can't do it now. That's when I loved the NFT thing kicked off because it just brought in art and finance. It's always been intrinsically linked from day dot.
Yeah.
Think about the opera. Think about it. It's always been linked to finance.
Yeah. Look at the Met Gala. The Met Gala is to raise money for the opera, right? And
exactly. It's always been there. You were paid. You artisans were paid. That was the creative economy back in the Renaissance. So what you've got now, ironically, is the new renaissance of the creative economy coming because of what we've got now with AI and jobs that will be disappearing. So what will people be consuming? They'll be consuming aesthetics even more. They'll be producing aesthetics. People will be owning assets like this.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. And I don't get it. AI doesn't fucking put me up the thing about as an artist.
Yeah.
Can't do this yet. All it's taken is data sets. So there's a lot of legality issues around that, which I see are kind of getting fleshed out of there. But these things don't bother me. It's like, I'm sitting here learning Blender, which is an amazing free fucking software. And it's like, as artists, it's like, if you want to be a painter, stick to being a painter if that's what you want to do. But if you're like me or some other creative people, I like to learn different things and add to my toolbox. And I don't even believe anymore it's like, what's that statement, jack of all trades or whatever it is.
Oh, master of none. Yeah, bullshit.
It's this dogmatic view about creativity. I've got to do this. I've got to do this one thing.
Robert Anton Wilson has the flip side phrase to that. It's like specialization is for insects.
Yeah. It's a great phrase because, again, it becomes dogma. It's like if you're a great painter and, if you, whatever it is, whatever the subject, but if you want to do painting and you want to be a painter, that's fine. But if people want to take their own creative risks, creative journeys, let them be. What is the definition of art? It's like this kind of the classicism I get involved of again as well. It's like people the aesthetics and how we see the world is always changing what we produce.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned with the kind of anthropocentric ways of society that you can be the centre of it. My work at the moment is completely surreal. It's completely devoid of anything to do with flesh. At the moment I'm kind of on these kind of. I'm just like heads that I'm obsessed by at the moment. Heads that are making and floating in space and high kinds of consciousness. And new realities. And I'm writing stuff. Taking the poetry that I've been doing and the performances that I've been doing and taking my mind into different, ways of working. But again, I don't think you should be fixed.
Yeah.
It's like,
tell us about the heads. What you want to talk about? What you currently working on or anything, or maybe what it means to you, or how it's evolving, or what the current,
Yeah. I think at the moment I'm kind of in a crossroads with my work because I'm doing a lot of oils and kind of portraiture of oils and biomorphs. So that the kind of concept behind them was thinking about where I would come from in Dundee, right? So where my mum and dad live in Dundee, there's these the old Coptic stars, right? So these were mills, right? So what was a statement in Dundee was that the men were called kettle violets. So all the men were all at home, all the women and the children were all basically exploited to work in the mills because women were paid less, children was basically slave labour, right? So this is Victorian, right? And I always got fascinated by the idea of photographs of these people, right, in these mills, right? Faceless people who you don't know their names.
Yeah.
So I started to think about future bodies with biomorphs and kind of portraiture. And imagine that having these biomorph entities who are all workers on different planets or even on Earth that are just faceless organisms.
Mm.
But they have stories, they have stories, they have backgrounds, they may have children, who are these beings?
Oh,
right?
wow.
So I wanted to create this kind of DNA, like all these portraits are connected to one another as a DNA structure, and they all have this poem connecting them as well, talking about, the biomorph and their hierarchical systems. Can we really escape the kind of economic hierarchical systems that we have in place today? Will we always be chained to the idea of finance, and through finance, the exploitation of bodies, the exploitation of genes, and not just genes as humans, but, chimeras, effectively. Like some of these biomorphs might have DNA signatures from spiders or whatever it is to maximise their productivity. Yeah. So this is a kind of ongoing portraiture project that I'm working on in the background while I've been creating and taking some of my other works and parts of my work and creating these kind of hive mind floating head actors, which sounds a very basic way to describe it, but it's like at the moment I'm kind of just figuring it out, because all the time I'm always creating things and thinking of ideas around, not even the body anymore, but just like gods. And I've kind of got this obsession about gods, and what these gods are and what kind of these hive mind super intelligences might be.
Yeah.
How would they represent themselves? And I've been using things via voxels, with cubes, like taking 8-bit graphics. So it's kind of interesting because my initial work was drawing cyborgs in continuous lines, and this was kind of my rejection to use technology for years. This was kind of like I'm drawing cyborgs organically.
Yeah, analog, one line.
Yeah. So it's like this was a kind of conceptual defiance against using technology, and definitely with COVID. But before it, I was one of the people here in London using VR, taking continuous line drawing and doing performances of drawing Cyborg and actually using virtual reality to print one-line sculptures, which you could never do until this technology, came around again, So when I kind of seen what I was doing with VR, and when COVID happened, I went probably like 360 around everything and started using virtual reality sculptures, using the poetry and using the digital sculptures I was building in that. Then I was going into performance, and I don't stop in what I do. And it's like I've got a wide range of things that I've been working on. And I've been drawing post-human organs. It's like there's so many ideas that branch off in my work.
It's like a 24-hour practice for you, right? You live your art pretty much. Yeah.
There's no stopping, And like I said, now, it's funny because with kind of the brain injury ADHD, it's like at the moment I'm kind of like spending about 4 days a week writing, because I've got to finish the other script when I have to go through that again. But this game script, I want to get it to a point where it's like, I'll finish it, but get it to a point, because this project I'm building, as I'm saying, is a big project, and it's going to take up a lot of my time once we get these investors. Because I've been doing this for 3 years, I've got the opera director, the choreographer, I've got all these people on board. It's going to take, it's great, it's coming,
Yeah.
This is not my magnum opus, this is the beginning of something else.
For sure. Yeah, awesome.
And it's a challenge, I want to challenge myself as an artist, as well. So it's like, as I start thinking am I an artist? I don't always think I'm an artist, if that makes sense. And not in a negative way. I just think I don't know what I am yet, in terms of creativity. Because I think sometimes when I call myself an artist, I'm limiting myself. It's been reductive. And that's just for me personally, it's not for, for anybody else.
Oh, that's interesting, yeah. For sure, yeah, you're in your process of discovering creation, and like you're not sure if you want to be limited by a loaded term that is like externally defined or whatever.
Yeah, because then people say, "Oh, you're the cyborg guy," and I'm like, "Oh, well, okay." You know, but that's kind of been it's my obsession since childhood, and now it's my art, and now it's a reality.
Yeah, I mean, you are the cyborg guy, but you're not only the cyborg guy.
Yeah, what kind of terrifies me is that the Cyborg Manifesto that I wrote and did at the Royal Academy, and you listen to that text about, military dictatorships, the dystopia prevails, and it couldn't be further away from the truth, you know what I mean, at the moment.
Yeah.
It's kind of terrifying sometimes, because I'm like, God, it is like military dictatorships prevailing, this is what we keep seeing.
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of terrifying. So, because I was, must admit, when I was drawing cyborgs, I was terrified of the idea of being a cyborg. As a kid, I wanted to be one. And as I was older, there was an existential kind of quandary about, do I want to get rid of my flesh? You know what I mean? It's like, do I want this to happen? And now I'm kind of, I don't want to live forever, but I would happily give up this body.
Yeah.
To be something else.
Yeah.
I think that kind of permeates in my work. I think there's this kind of void, that's what comes out. It's a very kind of loaded symbology. I mean, I see myself as a symbolist. That's kind of how I see it. What my work is. It's a very personal universe, but it's full of symbols, symbology, and dialogue, and it's self-referential, but also, I don't know if it's easy readable or accessible. Some people like it, and some people are kind of really weirded out by my work.
It's complex. It's a complex work, and it's not a finished work. It all continues, right? It's in conversation, like you said, to itself. And I mean, I feel like it's universal and iconic, but there is complexity there that, like, complex works you have to sit with to get more of what's going on. There's the surface, and then there's the layers. Hearing about the stories of like how you're recapturing like the lost, like being the agent, the personhood of these beings, these forgotten like proletariat, like, through space time or whatever. Like this people have been like reduced to resources, and all those folks who are just out there being like, and it's like it's a different form of post-humanity, because there's like post-humanity meaning after humans, like there aren't any humans or whatever, right? But it's like it's like human. It's like taking the humanity part and being like, okay, how can we extend this? What is human? We don't know, but we have these values, and this like caring. There's this compassion, this agency, this sense of personhood, this respect, all that kind of stuff, and like you're extending that to people that you're peopleizing. It's like humans are people, and it's expanding the definition of human. And I really like that. It's because I feel like that's what we have to embrace. The technology is like something that's not.
The irony is, isn't it? The irony is, the irony is, post-humanism has been written by humans.
Yeah.
It's and it's weird. That's the kind of, there's a paradox in that, isn't there?
Yeah.
Post-humanity. So again, it's like the humans have started the idea of their post-humanity, but will it be the androids, the cyborgs, the super intelligence which continue the story? And it's like, and that's the thing that permeates in my work as well, is the continuous line. And that's what like Sanctum will be as well, the continuous line. It's not a finite thing. The story will continue to evolve.
Love it.
I kind of see that my work will continue to evolve until my death. But then hopefully Sanctum will be a thing that will continue to keep going, and evolve through time and technology and the story. It's I kind of see Sanctum's Cyborg in my work as kind of, it's my orbit,
Love it.
It's a poem. It's a complex poem. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Kind of like it's like a Homer type for like the 21st century. You're like the post-futurist Homer. You're the 21st century Homer, dude. You're dropping the new archetype.
It's the thing is, for me, like, poetry is like I love philosophy. I like reading it. You know what I mean? I like reading it. I like hearing like some of the great minds I've met when they're discussing these concepts and ideas. But for me, poetry is just so bang on the money. You know, if you can describe something and a feelings or an idea or create this vivid imagery in a few lines or even a paragraph, it's powerful. You know? And I think like I presented a few poems and people like the other week. It was the existential quandary of the purgatory restaurants with the condiments of an existential crisis, and they're actually baking all the priests who are coming or falling in the door. And everybody was like, "What the fuck is this?" But it's so dense. But it's like the way you like delivered it and say it. You know, it's like you felt like you were actually in purgatory taking part in this kind of insurrection against the clergy. You know, it's time for me, poetry it's just so powerful. It's just a great art form.
I've been like checking out a bunch of like ancient Irish history and stuff, and
nice.
And Celtic stuff around like the indigenous peoples and stuff, and I was not surprised at all, but like I was like happy to see or whatever, like the bard, the relationship with the bard and royal and like rulership back in the day. It was like the king and the bard, and then the joke, and then everything else, because that poetry and language and the people's story, and I think there's the magic in being able to play with language. And I've been thinking a lot lately about language as like one of our primary technologies. You're talking about the spear. We had the spear before we had words, but I feel like we don't realize that we're constantly using this technology. We like inside and outside, and it's like we don't even really know what language is. We don't even really know where it came from.
Placebo, isn't it? It's like placebo.
Yeah.
We're told that these words mean things.
Yeah.
But these words don't mean anything on don't mean anything on an association of what's the other words.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how how powerful language is for people. If they don't see it in words or they can't hear you say it, they can't believe you. I mean, it's like you get animals, they communicate in completely different ways, fascinating ways. But I mean, we use language, which is like magic. It's like it's abstraction.
It's literally magic, yeah. And then poets have all the power because they like sit above language. They become the stream of language. It's like when it's like, it's also like poetry doesn't really get its due respect these days. In like in certain, but like generally, it's like poetry, but it's like actually poetry is the most powerful thing we have. Like even the economy, like our economy's poetry, right? The money doesn't, once they disconnected it from like actual gold or an actual finite resource, it just became a poetry of numbers. And now
it's completely a real abstraction. You know what I mean? It's like it's an idea. It's a thought concept. This is what I actually. It's funny saying that. It's like I done a talk with fucking Glasgow, in Glasgow, and I played the poem "Flesh, My Flesh, Liberty," the poem, right? So I'm in the costume playing that poem. And then so everybody in this it was weird because it was really kind of interesting about that conference was it was in an amphitheatre in Glasgow, right?
Sick.
Then the after party was in a bank, right? I don't think you could get more kind of metaphorical for sanctified orgy.
Perfect. Incredible.
Right? So when we played the Flesh poem, and that means like the partner in the office, Stefan was sat down, and I went right. So the quote was Plato quote: "All these points are as real as my body, as real as my flesh." So I was like, the next thing I really see people going, and my mentor was there, and this woman was like, "What the fuck is this?" You know what I mean? It's like totally like, what's this? And I'm talking about money, real abstraction, but this coin is as real as your body, as real as your flesh. The idea of NFTs and the real abstraction and the creative economy, you know what I mean? So this was kind of taken, like you just said, I've taken poetry into finance, taken this, playing about the philosophical concepts, and exploring kind of what do we term for value, intrinsic value, its worth, holding this, everything is a narrative, it's mythos, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's like, we live in complete storytelling all the time, and it's amazing how when people are entrenched in it, they can't see out of it, and and when you try and explain things to people just believe it. They don't want to hear kind of critical thought around things. They say, well, why do you need to believe in this? Why do you hold this so dear to you? Like, well, I've just been told. It's like, no, yeah, but you've just been told. So you're not thinking for yourself, right? You're not thinking about it, about the world that you're living in and all the stuff that you're exchanging, and if people just think this is just the way it is,
right?
That terrifies.
I'm with you. They're unquestioning, and they just give their lives to it. They'll die for it. They'll give all their money to it. They'll sell their kids into it. They'll go off to war to defend it, and they don't even question what it is or where it came from.
That's terrifying, because we're all convinced we need this kind of commerce, don't we? We need this bizarre rise of GDP, and this is going to make the world a better place.
It's a religion.
Sitting back and wondering, what are we exactly what it is? And what is it we're doing to the world? What can we do to make it better? Because at the moment, I can't. It's like, I don't want to be a cynic, but I just kind of get a bit terrified of the way the world's going. It's like we're in this kind of dark age. The dark age with the information that we're sharing and how information is shared and how people, what they're hearing and what they believe. What do you believe? It's like, Baudrillard's hyper reality times 100. It's just it's like, what is reality?
Yeah, that's the thing. But I like that you said, dark age, but going back to the new Renaissance. It's like the Renaissance followed the dark age, So maybe it is, things spiral, that history kind of repeats itself in different permutations and fractals. So maybe that's what it is. We're going through the dark age. We're at the cusp of a new Renaissance. And this time, we'll go the distance maybe. We'll spiral up and out a little further.
Well, I think we have to. At the end of the day, we've got a few threats on our hands. We've got the threat of nuclear war, which is about 1,000 to 1. We've got the threat of pathogens, which we've seen already with COVID. There'll be more. We've got the threat of super intelligences. We've got to be careful about the stuff we create. We have a tendency to create things and unleash it on the world, and we end up having to regress to wonder why they fucked up.
Yeah.
So we've got to be really cognizant about the things that we're doing, over unleashing of them. Because I think as well, this is going back to the earlier thing we were saying, like, our bodies, the technology we're producing, our bodies are still primitive in context. Because does the primitive brain that we have able to keep up with this kind of speed of knowledge, intensity, even more complexity to the society that we're living? And this is why, I see how this is why people are rejecting even like their gender, whether that's, that's whatever anybody's doing, rejecting their gender, rejecting who they are as a human, rejecting who we are in this world, because the world is becoming more complex than how we see the world in it. You've got partly groups of men who are going to be incels. I hate that term, but it's like separation about technology and how people are. If you're not economically viable, you're not getting a partner. It's all this kind of madness. Which is happening. It's just making the world even more diluted and complex. How people view themselves, how they see themselves within society. And this, it's all. Dare I say it's primitive thinking, isn't it? It's primitive minds.
Yeah.
Because the world is speeding up so fast. We're kind of like, whoa. I need to slow down in certain ways, but it's never going to slow down.
No.
So are we going to have to embrace the transhuman future? We're going to have to embrace it.
Yeah.
I think it will be, but I think everybody should have the right to morphological freedom. We should be forced to be what you don't want to be. And again, this comes down to, like you said before, it's a question. It's like eugenics, isn't it? Could companies be owning your parts? And who do you own? What do you own of yourself?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, as much as there could be positives, there's lots of negatives, there's lots of disparities. We don't want to fall into a eugenics race, do we? It's fucking grim. I just think that at the moment, it's like you say, there's a major crossroads in where we're going as humanity. And there's hefty changes happening.
Yeah. That's why I feel like
willing to realize,
it's important that like people like yourself, artists, creators, are creating work about the relevant, things that are actually affecting us that even though we're not willing to face, because unless we have the culture about it, unless we have new stories, new places to imagine ourselves into, then we can't make that leap, from this primitive past and all these fears of things that we're not prepared to understand to like a place where we've like integrated the new challenges, the new tools and their implications and like use them to solve our problems, so that's why, and that's partly why I created this platform, is to just pull in a bunch of people that are engaged in these kind of things and just like let them see it themselves, let other people see them, and just have a place for it, and then send it to space so it can stay there, and just have an archive, a reflection, a platform, and really just an excuse to chat with people that like I'm excited about what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think this is really nice to see. Like the opera, for example, is for me is to get the concepts of post-humanity, transhumanism into the society, because it was born within the mythos, it was born within popular culture, and then I feel like sometimes it gets hijacked from the intelligentsia when we're trying to be, getting the word out to the world for people to think about the world and reflect about the world and critically reflect the world and our place in it. I think that ultimately it doesn't get out, it's ends up getting kept within a bubble. So for me, like Cyborgism is a journey. It's a journey about what it means to be human, what it means with the senses, within a very cryptic poem and scenario and phenomenological states that I put into it. So it's dense. It's dense, but we need to be challenged. And I think this is the thing. I don't want to deal with these concepts. So sometimes you should be challenged to think about the world that we're in. And I want to bring like these ideas in opera, because opera is like one of the highest states of immersion. It's got everything. It's got innovation, technology, innovation. It's got pathos. It has everything. And it's like it's the theatre of the world. This is what we're trying to create. And taking opera into a different kind of direction.
I love it. What's the best way that people can? What do you want people, like, if anyone's watching this and they're like excited about checking out your work and whatnot, or supporting what you're doing, what like, is there any specific takeaways you want people to take, or a place that you want people to go? Is there a call to action? Is there a best way people can support your work or engage in it next? Like, what's the most relevant thing that people can do to help or engage with your work?
Well, my website is up at the moment. The shop's ready to be ready, so there'll be a lot more of my work. Like last year, with COVID and that long, I think I had to take a break, basically. I had to bomb out. So like everything's getting up and running. I'm on Super Rare as well, so I'll be launching a few like NFTs, which will be a mixture of my work. So they'll be available probably in the next 2 months.
Excellent.
So keep aware of that. My shop will be up and running, so there'll be prints, there'll be paintings and everything available. So this is all getting integrated at the moment. Cyborgia has a website. If anybody wants to check the website out, it's cyborgia.com.
Yeah, we'll have all the links.
Sign up to that. Yeah, Hallidonto at Twitter, Hallidonto on Instagram. Anybody feel free to DM me. I'll always answer you. I'll do the best to answer you, and I will answer you. So if anybody's interested in whatever they want to do, like touch work, have a chat, just get in touch. I'm more than happy to explore ideas, engage, and just any way anybody wants to.
Excellent. Solid. Well, thanks for your time today. We're gonna wrap up the recording, but appreciate you.
Perfect.
Much love. Awesome.